Hello, gay men, and welcome to another episode of Coming Inside Out. I'm your host, Mark Dembo, along with my co-host, Brian Janes. Greetings, Brian.
Nice to see you.
It is great to see you, as
Yes.
always. And I'm really excited today. We have a guest joining us. We've been talking about bringing more guests on to give more perspective. Many of you may know our guest today, Rick Clemons.
Yes.
He is somebody who has dedicated his life to helping people live with more authenticity, more courage, and less apology. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a coach. He's worked with countless number of LGBTQ plus individuals to embrace who they are without fear. You may have heard his podcast, 40 Plus Gay Men, Gay Talk, which I had the honor of being a guest on not too long ago. And on that
Yes, you were.
podcast, he dives into the realities of being a gay man over 40. And he talks about everything from masculinity to dating to coming out to finding your place in the gay community. And his mantra, I really love it. He talks about no excuses, no fears, no apologies. It's about hitting life head on. And so we're really excited to dive into a lot of topics today with Rick. We're going to see where this conversation takes us.
Yeah,
I think we're going to go in a lot of directions. We're going to dive in and talk about what it means to thrive as gay men in midlife, and for those of us who are starting new in midlife.
And here we go.
Rick, welcome to Coming Inside Out. We are so thrilled to have you join us today.
Yes,
thanks,
thank
man,
you
for the
so
invitation.
much.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. I love talking about these things. So I'm glad that you have said, hey, Rick, I'd love your perspective on this stuff.
No, absolutely, because I know you have such a great voice in this community, and I know a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, are very familiar with you. But before we jump in, just take a minute. We did introduce you a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your own personal story, kind of how you got here and the work you're doing now.
Sure. So I actually came out. Anybody who's heard this, sorry, but we're going to repeat it because it kind of all ties together. I actually came out when I was 19 years old to my parents, and I was in college and didn't go over very well because I came from a very faith-based background, even though my parents were very loose in their faith, like, oh, we're going to do this when it feels right and all that sort of stuff. And off I marched to the pastor and had a couple of chats with him. Unfortunately, he was really good looking, so it didn't work. It was just like I was paying more attention to how good looking he was than what we were talking about. But like many of us, I was not strong enough in myself or in who I was as a gay man at that point in time. It was also right at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, and I was very naive and confused. And it was really tough for me to find that spot where it was like, okay, how do I reconcile these two things, right? So I just went back into the closet, and before I knew it, I was married and was living a good life. We didn't immediately have children. We waited a few years to have kids. And then we had 2 children. And when we moved to Southern California, I was a Northern California boy, but I lived all over the country before I came back home. I realized this thing was eating me alive. And it was not going away. Mm-hmm. I'm not proud of where I went. I was very much a serial cheater by that point in time in my world. I had the privilege of traveling all over the world. So my gay life that I had was outside of the realm of California. I was supported by a group of coworkers who were gay and lesbian, who kind of were my little mentors, like, here's how you do things. And finally, at one point, as the book will tell you, frankly, my dear, I'm gay. It all exploded, and it was time for me to live my truth. And that catapulted me into eventually realizing I didn't like what I was doing for work either. And so I brought in coaching as part of my world and realized this is what I want to do, because I want to support other men. Some women, I've coached a few women through the journey as well, but mostly men in midlife coming out in that world, and not giving them advice per se, but guiding them to find the truth within themselves. And that's how this all got started.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, just like so many of our listeners coming out are married, struggling with their sexuality, coming out during their marriage. Some of them still not out, still closeted. But yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah. I just did an introductory session with somebody who's in that space and talking him through the possibilities. And it's always interesting, guys and listeners, there is no one size fits all in this world of coming out. I don't care at what age you come out. And I think there's too many misnomers around, like, oh, well, I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it that way, or tell me what you did. I can gladly share what I did and what some of my clients have done, but that may not be the fit for you. And so kind of like a good condom, you got to make sure it fits to enjoy the pleasure of being out and who you are. So there we are.
That's it. And that's like something that we say all the time, right? We on our podcast here, we talk about our experiences, but always to say, look, this is my experience. It's Brian's experience. It's everybody's experience is going to be different, but there's a shared journey, right? And kind of going through that. And I think just being able to hear sometimes what other people are dealing with, how you're approaching things, even though it might not be right for me, it's reassuring. I don't know about you, Rick, but Brian, I know you and I have talked about this. I remember when I first came out, I felt like I must be the only person in the world. When I first admitted to myself, right? I think I must be the only person in the world that's dealing with this. And then you realize there's so many of us.
Yes.
One of my favorite experiences around all that was when I finally did come out, guys. Like, okay, we're out. Everything was a shambles. Lots of stuff was going on. My very best friend lived in Laguna Beach, and I had moved to Laguna Beach, was barely, I know, I'm dead broke, like paying alimony, child support, and people like, well, it can't be too bad. You lived in Laguna Beach. I'm like, well, yes, it was a little teeny tiny studio. But anyway, I remember one of the very first times after I came out, he's like, come on, we're going to the bar. I'm like, oh, okay. And I had that mentality like, nobody has gone through what I've gone through.
No.
I'll be darned if that whole evening he was introducing me to guys and they're like, oh yeah, I was married. Oh yeah, I was married. I'm like, okay, wait, I thought I held the little like, award for being married and coming out late in life. Not that case whatsoever. And so one of the things I would say to listeners is realize and embrace you're not alone, rather than, oh, you're the only one. Embrace instead, you're not alone. You're not the only one who's been through this journey, and give yourself permission to create those relationships. Doesn't mean you have to go be in a relationship with somebody that has been married and come out. A lot of times those don't work as well. But what I will say is find your circle. Find the circle of support. And for each person, it's going to be a little bit different. But I think it's a really important thing to find those circles.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Well, I was just, were speaking of bars, and I was out with a buddy of mine the other night, and I had this kind of realization. When I first came out, in my mind, I was going to go to a gay bar. I was going to find a man attractive. He was going to find me attractive. He was going to buy me a drink. We were going to hit it off. We were, going to date and be boyfriends. And just like, I had this vision in my head about just how, euphoric my coming out was going to be and my introduction into the gay community and meeting a man. And after about the third time of going to a bar and, being a wallflower and not really talking to anybody and expecting people to come up to me, I got rid of that thought in my head that this fantasy that this is what is going to happen to me. And I went to this gay bar with a buddy of mine the other night, and he was frustrated because nobody was coming up to him, or, he wasn't getting hit on, or whatever the story is. And I said to him, you know what? I gave all that up. I love going to a gay bar and having the freedom to just look and admire another man's body from head to toe. Not in an inappropriate way, but just to see an attractive man and just to allow myself to appreciate that. That's my new gay experience.
Well, and I feel like, Brian, I think that's it's a very mature way to show up. And I realize many of us are mature. We're in our 40s, 50s on up that are, coming out late in life. But here's the thing. I love the kid in the candy store times because you have to experience that as well. Okay.
Yes.
I do not believe that as a gay man, you can actually grow unless you're like, okay, even if you're not hooking up all the time, I think you have to have a certain level of, let's just do this for the sex piece. But then that's something that helps you grow and mature as well. And then, like what you just described, this ability to like just be in the company of our own community. And it's not for
Yeah.
everybody. I'm not saying, okay, guys, go run to a bar. There's lots of other ways to be in company. You can join a gay running club. You can join a gay hiking club. You can join gay nudist clubs. I don't care what it is. But there's something about the camaraderie and growing into the place where we just accept ourselves in our own way as gay men. Period.
Yep. In fact, just before you joined us here, Brian and I were talking a little bit, and I was telling him that this past weekend I went out to Fire Island with 3 friends of mine for the first time. I'd never been out to Fire Island, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just like, think to myself, it's just like being in this space where I can just be me and be surrounded by others. And it doesn't matter that I came out late in life and that I was married and that I have kids. It was just a queer community supporting the queer community. And if you just wanted to hang out on the beach, if you wanted to go and find a hookup, if you wanted to go to a bar and get drunk, it was all there to do whatever you wanted. But just that camaraderie, that sense of community, of oneness that I think so many of us in our lives didn't feel. You always felt there was something missing, right?
Yes.
And to be able to allow that, I think is incredible.
This most recent conversation I had plays right into that, and that's why I'm kind of looking down. I want to find the notes, and I'm not going to reveal a whole lot because it's privacy. But the one thing this potential client said was, "I've lost the ability to believe I can experience things, and if I keep hiding in the closet, I'm going to keep taking that ability to experiencing things and pushing it lower and lower and lower." And it wasn't just the experience things with a guy, experience what it might be like to, be, intimate and dating or having, just close conversations. He even said, I feel like I've lost my ability to just go out and experience things, which turned into experience life. And I think for so many of us, this is what starts to happen. And that's why coming out is so much more than just some words that we say. It is a complete reinvention. My world went from me being a high-flying executive around the globe to suddenly I'm running my own business, which was scary. I mean, talk about being scared. Coming out to run your own business is a whole nother journey in and of itself. But realizing without that ability to have experience coming out and seeing what I was capable of, I would have never been able to start a coaching practice. I would have never been able to go stand on stages in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people and do what I do. Mm-hmm. And it is that reinvention that helps us step into other possibilities in our lives.
Yeah.
Yes. Rick, I have a question for you. Somebody once told me, and I don't know if this is true or not, that I am demisexual. I think that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you said it's important for men to get out there and experience the hookup. If you are somebody who needs the connection, the intimacy, just, more than the hookup, how do you advise people, or what do you say to them getting out there and hooking up?
To hold to your needing the connection. You can hook up, but you can hook up and have the connection. You just have to play it along. And it isn't gonna, it's interesting in, wherever people are finding the ways to do this, Scruff, Grinder, you name it, whatever the app is that's in our hands these days, is supposedly going to be where you're going to find Mr. Man, which you can. I'm not going to say you can't. But we all are searching for this instant gratification. No pun implied there, guys. Like, we're looking for this gratification, but the gratification comes from being true to yourself, even in the hookup realm. That to me is so important. I will not hook up with a guy. I'm in an open relationship. I will not hook up with a guy unless there's a connection. You can send me all your lovely little photos, your behind and everything else. Thank you. That's pretty. But if that's all I'm getting, we're not a match. If that's the right out the gate, and I'm not knocking anybody who's like, oh, that totally, okay, cool. That's good for you. It's not good for me. I got to have some conversation. we kind of got to meet you. We got to see if that's going to work. And sometimes it doesn't. And that to me is, again, a level of maturity in how you show up in your world as a gay man and saying, here's my lines. This is what I need. I'm very much a demisexual as well, Brian. I got to have that connection.
So the Grinder opening that says "sup" followed by a dick pic is not going to be what you're going to go for. Is what you're saying?
Well,
right?
I might go, that's a really pretty dick. Nice looking. What else you got for me? Can I see a face pic? Can I see what is something you enjoy? Oh, I really like sucking dick. Okay, well we're not getting further along here, guys.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I haven't. I'm not proud of this. I was a hoe. The whole time. I was not in my gay life, and even beyond there. But when I started realizing this wasn't fulfilling me, this is not fulfilling me. And even as, we navigate our open relationship, these are the ground rules that we play. The guy has got to meet us. We've got to connect. We got to have something that, makes it feel good. And not all the time is that what's going to happen. And so when somebody pushes real hard, no pun intended, boys, we pretty much push back and walk away.
Yeah. And I think what you're, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Everybody's journey is going to be different in terms of who you are as a person, what you're looking for. Some of us came out and, went out and were the biggest, hoes there were, and had our gay adolescence, right? Making up for lost time.
Absolutely.
And then there's those that say, no, I don't want that. And, curious, Rick, I'd love to get your perspective from, your own experience and having worked with so many guys. For so many of us kind of coming out later in life, we were married for a long time. And when we dated 15, 20, 30 years ago, A, it was a different world. And B, I think a lot of us were looking for that person that, we could feel comfortable with, right? Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, wait a minute. I want to date. I want to meet somebody. I don't know the first thing about how to date in today's world, let alone how to date a man, right?
Yes.
We hear that for a lot from our listeners saying, how do we get into this world of dating? So I'm just curious, your perspective on that and what you see with some of the men you work with.
Well, I've never worked with that at all. Never addressed any of that shit
Never
at
comes
all.
up.
Never comes up.
Next
up. So let's move on to the next question.
Next question.
It is probably the most prevalent question I get, whether I'm working with somebody coming out or guys in midlife are like, okay, I'm done being a hoe. I just want to settle down and get a relationship. And the first thing I say is, okay, let's admit what you know and what you don't know. I don't know anything about how to date now. Okay, let's really own that. Let's own it. Let's understand what's underneath you not feeling like you know how to do this. Because if we don't dig in and get underneath and see what's really there, sometimes it's not, I don't know how to date. Really? You found this person. I know it's 20 years later, 30 years later, but what are some of the core things that helped you in that? Now, for some of us, we're like, it was the first person that I knew could, be my person. And I think most of us didn't go into our marriages thinking, I'm going to screw this up 40 years from now, but let's go, right? I learned how to date. I didn't learn how to date a guy, but I have some core dating skills. And then once you identify what's making you feel like you don't know how to do this, we can start to work on that. What can we dig into that you do know how to do that can be the first launching pad? Secondly, we all have friends. We all have male friends. And guess what? We may not have dated our male friends. Some of us end up doing that. We may not have dated them, but in a way, you learned how to date your friendships. And I know it sounds weird, guys, but you learned how to date your friendships. You vetted your friendships. So however you brought those guys or a guy into your world as a friend, think about what it was you did with them that drew you to them, that drew them to you. Because in all of this is this beautiful thing called our silly little human head. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Really? I don't know how to do a relationship with a guy. You just came out of a 20 freaking year relationship with a woman. I think you got some relationship, good stuff in there. It may not have been with the right person, but we often go, okay, this situation is so different. It can't happen. No, we've got beautiful years of experience doing what we've done. Now we just mold it to the little nuances. The little nuance
This
that's probably
is,
the biggest is we are all men. And men
yes.
with men is a different ballgame. So that's where I do a lot of my work in the coaching is how do we deal
All
with
right.
those nuances?
I have a question. When I was a teenager, I knew and deep down inside that I was gay. But I had a friendship with a woman, and my friendship became an emotional attachment to her. It's very different than dating today because dating as a closeted teenager, you attached yourself to somebody and you formed a bond, a relationship, an intimacy over time. In this gay dating world, it feels like a lot of love bombing. It feels like people want this instant connection. I'm going to text you 27 times, and, over a weekend of texting, we have a relationship. And it's like, to me, a relationship takes time. But in
Yes.
this community, it feels like everybody wants it immediately.
So I
What do
think,
you say to those people? Because we are dating much differently, even though you're man woman, but we're dating so much differently today than we dated 30 years ago.
so I'm really glad you asked this question, Brian, because we're going to go right into what you just shared. So Brian, you and I, we've been on a date. We're winding everything up. Both of us, the little hearts are pitter pattering. It's like, oh, this is really good. Maybe we came for an hour and 3 hours later, we're still hanging and, all that sort of stuff. We're not necessarily headed to the bedroom, but things felt really good. So here's what I would say to you as a guy that's really finding you attractive, feeling like there's some connection. Hey, Brian, I have really enjoyed this time we've got to spend today. And one of the things that I know is I like to move things forward, but I also like to move them forward at a certain pace. And I would like to see us get back together again. And in order to make that really work, I'd like to chat a couple of more times this week, but when I'm available. I'm not really good with like getting a bunch of texts from somebody that I've just met. If you want to send me a text or two, I will definitely respond to them. But I'm the kind of guy who's going to like, let's move this forward at a pace. And that's the pace that could kind of work for me. I would like to take you out on another date. If you're feeling this, I'd like to set up a date within the next week or two with the understanding that I'm into you, man. But I also want to take it at a pace that works for me. What's the pace that would work for you, Brian?
All right. I love that. I love that. You're putting it back on them. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm
Well, girl, you probably need me as your coach. No, I'm kidding. But this is the thing. It is a different dating world because we are so focused on instant gratification.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
Everybody's
so.
falling in love. Everybody's doing this. I mean, we got stupid shows. I'm going to probably offend some people right now. But
I
stupid shows like the blind dating thing, like, oh, we're going to get married and we've never even seen each other. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
okay, so
Yeah.
the world is like, this is what you can get. Now, what I just said to you, Brian, is probably going to be a complete turnoff to some guys. Yay, that means you're not my kind of guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
On to the
I'll
next
tell
one.
you, I
But
usually don't get to the date because I get turned off by the person and the abundance of the communication and the hey honey,
Mhm.
hey dear, hey
Yeah.
sweetie, and I'm like, I don't know you. I'm not your honey, I'm not your sweetie. We've like texted 3 times last night, a couple times a day. It's like slow down.
So in that case, I would say, hey, I'm really enjoying our conversation, but here's what's going to make me not enjoy the conversation. And I'm just going to be really candid and honest with you. I think I'm kind of digging on you, but I don't know. We haven't met. We're just having this texting things. Here's how you will make me walk away. Too many texts, like one a day could suffice right now as we're starting to get to know each other. Don't love bomb me with honey or sweetie or anything because we haven't even met.
Yeah.
I'm just some guy that we're having a conversation. And I know that may be your nature. And I want to totally honor that that's how you might want to talk. That actually causes me to become a little bit scared and to walk away. Now, if that can work for you, let's try this out. Let's try to have a text a day, no more than 2, and see where we can go. How does that work for you? Again, you notice the last question. How does
Yes.
that work for you?
All right. I love the
so
honesty.
there's a couple of things that I want to peel back here a little bit more.
I'm not taking my shirt off for you, Mark. Sorry, ain't happening.
Man, Rick, every time,
It would
I
scare
keep
you.
trying
Let's just
to
go there. It would scare you.
Where was I going to? Oh, so a couple things that, come to mind. One of them is, so we're talking about kind of what's happening once you've made some kind of connection. But I think a lot of people in our situations coming out later, and I know a lot of it's like, okay, where do I even meet people? It's like, okay, I know, it's like one thing if am I really going to meet somebody on Grindr? It's like if I'm looking for a hookup, fine. Again, not that it can't happen. It does happen, and I can attest to that. My boyfriend now, we actually met on Grindr originally.
Yep.
But by and large, it's like, okay, I'm not just looking for the hookup, so that's not going to be the place I'm going to go. I'm not into the bar scene. How do I meet people? Right. That's where I think a lot of people get stuck coming out. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to start.
Well, you have to first believe that you're your own best advocate in finding the places where you feel most comfortable. So what I have clients do is tell me some places you really feel comfortable in social situations. Oh, I love museums. Cool. Where else? Oh, I like going out kayaking. I like kayaking. Awesome. I love wine tasting. I love cooking. Okay, so you see where I'm going. It's like, okay, when you go to a cooking class, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical, there could be a higher probability that there might be some other gay men that come and do that. Okay. Interestingly enough, I have had more clients who are like, I love kayaking, I like hiking, I like all this sort of stuff. And the first thing is like, that's way too masculine for me. I'm like, no, it's not. But hey, and guess what? Great outdoors, any of those hiking clubs and stuff. Sometimes we overlook the obvious. But one of the most obvious places, if you can keep it in check, okay? There's my caveat. If you can keep it in check, is to lean into your friendships. I'm not just talking your gay friendships. Now, I love my straight girlfriends. They are just absolutely amazing. This is where you got to kind of keep your straight girlfriends and straight guy friends in check. You say, I am really actively on the dating scene. And here's the kind of guys I'm most interested in trying to find connections. Here's the kind of hobbies, what places I would like to go meet those guys. I would love you to help me, if you can, in helping guide me to some of those places. Because our friendships, again, I love them to death. There's times they can go, I just met this guy. He's perfect for you. I've already planned the wedding. You're going here on your honeymoon. Okay, I love it, but you got to be a little careful. But I think we overlook some obvious places. If you're somebody who is into faith and church, you can find some really amazing LGBTQ affirming churches where, again, you're in the world with like-type individuals. But we oftentimes overlook this. When my husband and I lived in Southern California, we belonged to a gay theater group. We belonged to a gay wine tasting group. I was in Front Runners, a running group at that time. All these different things. I met so many people, and I was already hitched up, and we weren't in an open relationship or anything at that point in time. And it didn't really even matter because now we lean into friendships. I have a couple of friends right now, like I'm open on the dating scene. Okay, cool. I sat down with both of them. And of course, they're like, don't coach me, Rick. I'm like, I'm not going to coach you. I just want to know, like, what kind of guy, what interests you? I know you go wine tasting and stuff with us, but go beyond. And I learned so many interesting things about these two friends when I had those conversations. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing you, I'm feeling you. And now I'm more able to think about, and we live in a really small town here in Central Coast, California. Options are limited, but I also like, hey, I heard about this guy in LA, because one guy's like, I'm willing to drive to LA and, have a long distance relationship. Clear up what you're open to and make sure that those who need to be in the know can help you get there.
Yeah.
Nothing better than that, in my opinion.
So, Rick, how did you meet your husband?
Online.
Okay.
Many moons ago. Moons ago. So we met through a site called Planet Out. Back in the day where you had to you put your profile up and then you could send a message, but then it had to go through email and then they had to open the email and then they would write back and then you had to wait for it to come back. I mean, we were not getting off an instant instantaneous moments at any point in time. Now, interestingly enough, neither one of us were really looking. In fact, I think both of us had in our profiles, not looking for anything right now, just wanting to make connections and everything. And when I think, he reached out to me first, I was kind of like, I just don't want to do this right now. But then I read his profile and I'm like, you know what? I don't know. There's something that really clicks here. Then I was the one who pushed it. So I'm like, okay, let's meet. And I pushed him to meeting me like a few days later. And he was sick and everything. I'm like, come on, it's just a drive, an hour. Come on, I'll take you to dinner in Laguna Beach, blah, blah, blah. I probably pushed him more, but we kept it at a pace. Saw each other maybe once every week, every other week. We moved fairly quickly. I mean, within 3 months, we were dating like very consistently. A year and a half later, we moved in together. But I was really honoring myself and the pace that I wanted to go at it with. And so was he. And now here we are, almost 20, it'll be 24 years and just, thank God I'm talking about this. Like, shit, our anniversary's coming up. Okay, well, Rick's got to go get on that one pretty quick. Yeah. Of course, I'm going to be gone for our anniversary this year. I mean, we count the anniversary date that we actually met on our first date, not the year that we got married. We remember when we got married. We just can't remember the freaking year because it was so many years down the road. But we know it's New Year's Eve. That's an easy one. Oh yeah, every New Year's Eve we got married.
Don't know the year. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us have lived a life in the closet, suppressing our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, everything about who we are on the inside. When we finally come out as gay, we're being introduced to a brand new version of ourselves that we have never met, that we pushed away for years and years and years, and now you're welcoming that version of you into this world. What are some exercises? What are some things that you recommend to these men to help them get in touch with who they really are? Because coming out of the closet and like going and doing hookups isn't introducing yourself to you.
Such a great question. And it's one that you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself. Okay. Which can be hard at times because we have, as men, created these facades of, oh, men are not supposed to be this, even as gay men. There's a lot we still do in our own culture as gay men. So my favorite exercise is to go back in time to that little gay boy or gay teen or gay young adult that you first started really like, oh, but I need to push this down. And start writing down, what is it that you were pushing down? What were the thoughts? What were the feelings? What were the experiences that you came close, but you didn't do anything? Who were those stolen glances? And I don't mean to list every guy, but hello, I was watching Baywatch just like a lot of guys, like, okay, yep, that's doing it for me right there. But write these things down, like what was it you were pushing down? And then whatever it was you're pushing down, you can use this however many, list of things you want. I try to not make people do this forever, but it's a really good exercise. Then next to the thing you push down, in the next column, say, why? Why did I suppress this? And be very clear on the why. If I got caught, somebody might figure it out. Well, this wasn't what I was taught, or this wasn't what my face said. Oh, I didn't know what to do with that feeling. So I thought it's easier if I don't understand that feeling. Let's just push it away because then it won't come back up again. Get really clear on why you were pushing it down, pushing it away. Then the third column is the interesting one. Imagine what you could have been or could be now if that suppression no longer exists. What would you do with it?
No longer exists.
Okay. No longer exists. It is not even part of your DNA. Because this is where we step into the possibilities. So you notice what I did there. I want to get very clear on what we know. And then there's another step. We're going to do the same exercise in a minute. And then why you were suppressing it. So we get really clear the why behind it. Because if we don't I'm going to sound all Simon Sinek for all you guys that are out there. If we don't get to understand our why, we can't get beyond. We got to get to the why. But then with that third column, it's like, what's possible if that no longer exists? What are you capable of? What do you want capable of experiencing? How does it empower you? What kind of confidence does it bring up? So then we've worked through that. So then I say, Mark, given what you could experience, I want you to look at the list of what you could experience. Which of those things are you not currently experiencing? Because this is where we bring the past to the present. Mm-hmm. Which of those things is most important to be experiencing? And then which is the next one? Okay, now, why are you not allowing yourself to experience it? Because most of the time what will happen is there's the same connection to why you were suppressing it back then to why you're suppressing it here. And now we have stuff we can work on.
Right.
And we can break through it.
So, that brings up a great point, at least in my mind. And also kind of goes back to some of what we were talking about before on the dating and how to respond in a certain situation. Part of, I think, for so many of us in the process of suppressing, denying who we were, we are looking to fit in, to be accepted, and we tend to become people pleasers and not wanting to rock the boat. And Rick, I know you've talked a lot about this on your podcast. And so kind of picking up on what you were just talking about, how do you, or what have you seen helps people get past that? I mean, it's, that tendency gets hardwired into who we are.
Absolutely.
And I think oftentimes is the biggest barrier for so many of us to really live. It's like, it's the guilt that comes up. It's the fear of not being accepted. It's the imposter syndrome, right? How do we move past that?
You just get a bulldozer and you just shovel it up and push it over the edge. It's that simple. I find the interesting piece of this is when we start to see that part of ourselves that is the pleaser. Okay, we're all most everybody is hardwired in this way in some way, shape, or form. Others of us, raising my hand here, more than others, because pleasing equated acceptance. Pleasing equated to less problems. Pleasing helped us hide our truth. Pleasing made us the good boy, the good man, the good father, the good husband. I never want to see anybody lose that piece of themselves, because there's a beautiful part of, hey, can I please somebody else by really supporting them or whatever it might be? The interesting link is, if you don't learn how to break through that, I'm going to get to that, you're going to do this in your gay life all over again. You're going to find yourself in circles of gay men, like, okay, I'm going to show up. I don't really like going to the bar, but hey, this is what we're supposed to do. This is how we're supposed to be. Okay, I'm not really a nudist, but I'm going to go do this because every gay man should experience that. Okay, I kind of believe you should experience an all-gay resort that's clothing optional, but it doesn't mean everybody does. But suddenly, if you start doing everything to keep pleasing everybody else, have you really changed? And the whole goal is, how can I break through to, quote, pleasing myself with some of the energy I'm using to please others, so that I start realizing I'm worthy. Every time I do something for me that's in a good way of pleasing me, yes, there's going to be some people that it may not work for them. But is my job to make Mark feel better, to make Brian feel better? On a somewhat level, of course. But if all my world is spent keeping you guys happy, I'm not experiencing any joy myself, and then suddenly I am putting myself further and further down. And so what we have to break is the cycle of, I don't deserve pleasure. I don't deserve to please myself. But do it from a place of, I deserve to experience pleasure and pleasing myself because it's healthy. It makes me a better individual. It makes me more discerning. It helps me help others who are struggling with that to see that in themselves. Kind of like the hookups. If you immediately jump to the hookup because, okay, this is what we're supposed to do, and I'm just going to go please him, blah, 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 blah. That is actually one of the biggest turnoffs for me, is somebody's like, I just want to please you. I just want to please you. I'm like, I'm out. There's no pleasure for me in that. I want it to be a mutual thing. And, you know, it's kind of sad because a lot of times it's these cute little young twinks that are like, I just want to please you, daddy. I'm like, well, I'm not going to adopt you. So
Right.
Ain't happening.
Yeah.
Even though it's really cute and you're really hot, I'm like,
I mean, that could be a fun hookup, but you know,
it could. And okay, so but that's a beautiful point, Mark. Put it where it put it in that space where that pleasure, it has a purpose. Okay, that could be fun. I'm allowing myself to please myself by going, it's okay to go have that kind of fun. But if we're constantly doing this for others, we have not broken the pattern. And what we got to do is have the pattern interrupt and reevaluate how we choose to please others, along with pleasing ourselves in a very healthy way.
Wow. All right. Thank you. I needed to hear that, actually.
It's a tough one, Brian. It is a tough one. I mean, I'm 62 years old and there's still aspects of my life that I see this crop up, and then I have to step back and go,
Well, I think
I actually had it happen this morning. I think this would be a really good example of this. I run a team of people. I have my own private coaching practice, but I also work for a company where I run a team of coaches. And one of my coaches asked for some time off, and we have, on certain days, we have group coaching that has to happen. And I looked at the time off, which I'm not going to deny the time off, but this person had a lot of alternatives to when that could happen for the group coaching. And of course, my little Rick mind immediately went, I'll just take care of it. Let me do it. Well, of course, I go to my calendar because this vacation request is coming in pretty quick and hot. And I'm like, I can't. I'm already fully booked for that day to cover cover my own coaching sessions for the company. And of course, my little voice is like, well, Rick, you got to figure out a way to make this happen. You're the boss, which I kind of do. In this case, I kind of have to figure out a way to make it happen. But here's where I walked away from, Rick has to be the hero and please. I said, what's the best way that you can see from your role as a coach to ensure that this group coaching session happens that day and we can fulfill our obligation to our students? Instead of Rick jumping in and going, I will please you. I will save the day.
I'll do it.
I already had a solution, but I wanted to kind of see if she could do it. And I also needed to pull myself back out of the equation. The interesting thing was her solution was exactly mine, but I just had to give it room to do. And what I've learned as a leader, okay, now I'm switching gears, guys, a little bit. My coming out process has made me such a better leader.
Absolutely.
Because I see things from a whole different lens.
Yes.
And I can see the people pleasers on my team real quickly.
Yeah. And that goes back to one of the points we were talking about earlier in the coming out. And I know for myself, right, I always felt that I was hiding so much of myself that once I came out, that's not just about saying, I'm going to go have sex with a man. It's about who I am and how I view myself and being able to bring forth all those things you were hiding to be your full person. And that shows up in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
And as we learn more of these things, right, to let go of some of the people pleasing, that carries over into other aspects of life.
And so much of it comes from our conditioning to, as gay men, we're not worthy. This shouldn't be seen. This shouldn't be heard. This shouldn't be, acted upon. La, 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 la. So one of the exercises I do in that realm, and I'm not going to give all my exercise away because I need some of y'all to come hire me, okay? But this one is a really powerful one because so many gay men, and this is not a generalization, I would say a majority of gay men struggle with confidence. Not surprising. And to help begin to build your confidence and see yourself and realize I don't need to please everybody, even in my most, quote, naked truth is where we're going. Here's the exercise. In the privacy of your own home, please don't go do this on the street corner. You'll get arrested and you'll end up in jail. And if you have a full-length mirror, if not the biggest mirror you have in your bathroom or whatever, I literally want you to stand in front of the mirror completely naked.
Oy.
That's usually the reaction I get.
All right.
Okay. But you do it from a space of, I am going to see myself. Wrinkles, bags under the eyes. I'm talking to myself right now here, Brian. So I'm admitting these little suckers here. Okay. Little turkey chin, all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to start at the top of this head. And I'm going to look at myself and go, I really love my bald head. I love my bald head because it actually fits my personality and me. It saves me money. I don't have to get a lot of haircuts. I don't get haircuts. I do it myself. And I actually love that I can really rock a beard. And I love that I've got the kind of face that can do this. And the other thing I really love is I have the little salt and pepper in my hair and in my beard that a lot of guys find attractive. And also, you know what? I love my ears because my ears are really good at listening and hearing people. And I love my shoulders because they're nice and broad. I even kind of love my man boobs, but I wish they'd go away. But there's sometimes I'm like, I can just let them hang out and I don't care. I can wear a caftan and be like totally comfortable with my man boobs in there. And what I'm doing is I'm actually walking through and I'll turn my shoulder and I'll go, oh, yeah, that scar right there, that one that I got when I was a kid from breaking my collarbone, it always is going to remember how much joy I was having as a child and having fun, because this is a sign that I used to know how to have fun. So when I'm not having fun, I'm going to look at this little place on my shoulder. And I just keep working down. I'll get to the, you know what? I love my penis. My penis is amazing. My penis is one that I really love. It's not a big, huge penis, but it's a grower, not a shower. And it's a shocker for many people. Like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And I love that that's what we can do with this exercise. I go to my feet. I've got really beautiful, big feet, and those feet have supported me in doing so many things. They've helped me when I was a dancer. They've helped me like climb mountains that I thought I never could climb. They've helped me do so many things. And by the time we do this whole body scan, we're starting to see ourselves in a whole new light. And every once in a while I'll go, yeah, that little turkey thing, Rick, you need to start working on it. But man, it shows you've got wisdom. You've lived some life. I will acknowledge the negatives. And the whole point of this exercise is to start to accept and love yourself as you are in your body. Because when we can accept the shell of who we are, everything else is the soul within and all that, we can start to do a lot of other stuff.
Wow. I think that's hard for a lot of us because we spent so many years making ourselves bad that kind of really showed itself in so many ways, in our shame of who we were and the guilt of what we were doing, and in the people pleasing. You gave me a new perspective on this because I found myself as a people pleaser in my relationship, not because I'm a people pleaser, but because I had so much guilt that I found that I was gifting to my wife my time, my emotions, my boundaries. I was giving that to her because I felt so guilty inside. That's what I have. So when I see myself doing that, I have to, take a step back and say, okay, why am I being a people pleaser today? Am I being a people pleaser because it's stemming from tapping into the guilt that I have inside of me? Or is it because I'm shy in this new gay community? I have to kind of think about it. It takes so much work. If you want to be a healthy person in this community after being closeted for 30 years, it takes a fucking tremendous amount of work. It's exhausting.
It takes a lot of work to be a human. It takes a lot of work to be. I mean, take this away from our gay community. It takes a lot to do this in our world. And so to your point, Brian, I'm so glad you said this. I'm going to give you one question that I love to go to in my own head. There's a lot in this little bald head that goes, I have my moments, trust me. Mostly 24 hours a day, I have my moments. But here's the question. What's the strategy behind the people pleasing? What is the strategy behind the people pleasing?
Well,
that can stop you really quickly because it actually starts to break the cycle.
Yeah. I think it deflects from me because I spent a lifetime not wanting the focus because someone was going to figure out I was gay.
Right.
Someone was going to pay attention to me and know I was walking around with a secret. So people pleasing for me is deflecting away from getting the attention off of me.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And when you deflect, okay, so we're going to do just a little coaching here so people can kind of get a feel for this. So when that deflection happens and it takes it away from you, then what?
I feel, I've cried about this on the show. I'm lonely. I have just a lot of I'm not kind to myself.
Okay, so
for the
stop right
most
there.
part. But
So when you deflect and you start to feel lonely and you're not kind to yourself, then what happens, Brian?
yeah, well, it's a hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I never get off of unless I take the time to quiet my mind, to appreciate myself, appreciate where I'm at in my life. I don't look back with a lot of regret. I have my kids, so I don't look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this differently. But for a lot of people, myself included at times, it can be a real hamster wheel.
Okay. So what Mark just did so beautifully is he showed.
He rolled his eyes.
Well,
Did he roll
besides
those?
that, you roll your eyes very well. I know. I can tell you practice that over and over and over again. Me too.
Hey, girl, I got that eye roll, baby.
But what you just did was really powerful. You actually went from deflection, a couple of stages, to the hamster wheel. You deflect because you just know you're going to end up on the hamster wheel, and that isn't where you want to be. So if we start to change everything that we say now, I'm catching myself deflecting, I'm going to end up on the hamster wheel. I don't want that. But what you then said is, if you can get out of that, you start to feel more alive. You start to feel more empowered. I mean, I was starting to hear some of that coming. So here's the shortcut. I'm deflecting. Oops, I'm headed to the hamster wheel. Oh, wait, let's get quiet. Let's get calm. Let's quiet the mind. Do you see how quickly we can start to, we left out all the middle stuff. Doesn't mean it's not important, but when I see this happening, this is one of the greatest shortcut tools we can do. And this actually is an exercise that I use called then what, so what. Okay, well then, and you notice I kept saying, well, then what? And then what? And then what? We could have gone a little bit further because it could have gone a little bit further, but Brian got there really quickly because he's a straight A student, which I'm sure that's part of what he tried to do in school, was be a straight A student too, okay? It's so powerful when we can master this with ourselves, because we can catch ourselves in that moment. I catch myself when I'm spiraling, not always, but I can catch it real quick and go, wait, if I spiral here, I am not going to get anything done. I'm not going to sleep. Yeah. And I don't want that. I want to feel alive and everything. So what can I do right now to short circuit this? Oh, you know what? That actually isn't true, because it's not true until it's actually happening. Great. I just took away all the stuff that's not really actually happening and said, what is happening right now in the here and now?
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is awesome stuff, Rick. And there's so much more we could continue to unpack, and hope we'll have the opportunity to have you join us.
We could unpack, jock straps and all that sort of stuff too.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you got it. That'll be the next one. But before we wrap up, tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you, any specific work, anything we want to direct people to.
A couple of things. The podcast is 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk. You don't have to be 40 plus. I know there's guys that are listening to it. I've had people send me a message like, I'm 22 and I listen to your podcast. I'm like, yeah, you're just looking for a daddy. You're trying to find the daddies on the show. No, I love everybody, but that's a great way to get a feel for, really what this is about. My podcast, my website is Rick Clemons, CLEMONS.com. It's Clemons with a C, and then Lemons, just think C Lemons. But the thing that I think is most important to me is, if you really are wanting to connect with community, we do have a monthly gay men's chat, and we talk about all sorts of stuff. We talk about coming out late in life. We talk about sex. We're actually having a really fun one coming up October. I'm going to get it wrong. I think it's October the 5th. It's on the website. We're going to go a little risque. This one is not a normal men's chat. This is like, I want you to come, and we're doing it on a Friday night versus a Monday night. We're doing it a little bit later, and I'm inviting everybody to come just as they are. Now, I don't want you showing up in your jockstrap. That's fine if you want to do it below the camera. But do you have a fantasy? Is there something you want to talk about? Do you want to be spanked? Let's talk about that. Do you really want those nipples played with, but you've never vocalized that? Do you want to show up like being somebody's, boy toy, and that's something that turns you on? Do you want be able to talk to your partner about, this is what I want? We are going there's no holes barred on this one. we're going to be really good about it, but we are talking about stuff we never talk about. And I don't care if you want to show up in your leather, if you want to show up in your negligee, if you want to show up in your, football fireman costume, I don't care. Because one of the things I want to do with this, and this is possibly going to become a regular occurrence, we'll do it every couple of months. I want to start breaking the barriers of, I can't talk about my fantasies. I don't know how to talk about my desires. And it doesn't have to be, I list a lot of sexual stuff. It doesn't even have to be that. But this has been being asked for. And again, I think it's October the 5th, Friday, October the 5th. Just go to my website. You'll find it. You can sign up to be on the mailing list for all the men's chats. I would love to see more guys participating. We always get a good turnout. Sometimes we get 20. Sometimes the highest I've ever had is like 50 guys on. And it was a really good conversation. So, and the podcasts are fun too. I mean, I just interviewed somebody about custom fit condoms, and she was talking about, we have a tool that you measure your penis and your girth and everything. And so you never know what's going to be coming up on the podcast. So. But more than anything, guys, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure and a privilege. It's nice to sit on the other side for a moment.
Right? Well, thank you for joining us. And again, hope we'll get to do this again. And thank you for all our listeners. Please send any comments or thoughts to us at cominginsideout@gmail.com. And we will see you all again very soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.